So the main challenge in the northeast area region of Brazil is the high level of poverty, especially in the rural areas, and inequality, and weather conditions. About 80% of the land of the states are in the same area region, and lack of water. The soils are not ready for agriculture. However, the rural producers, they live from agriculture. So it's contradictory because also, despite the weather conditions, they depend of agricultural production. So the project invested during about 15 years, and the main investments were in the water distribution and electricity and productive investments for family agriculture, and also for access to land. Land is also used to be big issue, but now it's better. And they could have access to land and to money, to funds, to invest in their properties, in their production. So it worked well, but as the young people, they have been studying and better educated than their parents, they couldn't see any future in the agriculture, and how to improve them, how to create alternatives, economic alternatives, and avoid them going to the urban areas without preparation, without qualifications to compete in the urban areas and find jobs and economic activities. So another thing is the drug, because when they live in the urban areas, usually they are involved in drugs, in the drug system, drug dealers, and drug distribution, and violence and insecurity. So this approach, the main objective is to improve the young people, creating innovative activities, and the culture, the music was the most important area that we could invest and we could work together with them. Currently, when the project was closed, there were about 6 small groups, bands, but now they are more than 100 bands playing, and they are working together, and they could rise, they could achieve different way of life in the rural areas and working together with in a group. So this is how to include the rural youth. This is the main. These are the main challenges that I have already talked about. And the main results of the project is about 60,000 small-scale social infrastructure, mainly water and electricity and productive activities. And 30 million people benefited directly through the project from 1993 to 2009. And 2 billion invested with the balance of funds from the bonds.
Was it one project?
Several successive projects with the state government. The Northeast region has 9 states. And the area is about France, Spain, and Portugal together. Is the region.
Oh.
when we talk about Brazil, it's always huge. So it is an innovative approach to the use rural poor through cultural projects, and it is working very well and as a vector to social and economic inclusion. Some of them were invited by the University of Minas Gerais to study there and received a scholarship. And one of them was invited, and he is in Austria, studying there. He also received a scholarship. And there are a lot of investments from social sector, NGOs to work together with them and to improve their lives. So it was in the end of the project, 46 musical bands. It was in 2009, but now, as I said, are more than 100. And the average per investment is very, very low, $29,000. So it's per association. The average of people in the groups are about 10, from the average is about 10. So they are not big groups, but there are some. This Filarmônica de Cruzeiro, the first one, is the biggest. It's more, they have invested more there. Not only the project, but also the municipality. So let's see how it will work.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Maybe you already spoke on this, but what would you say is the theory of change behind this? What, by empowering youth through music that will stay in the region, or
they are staying in the region and they are playing, they are continuous studying and they are playing on the weekends, and they are paid to play in parties, in events, and they are invited to play in parties, several different kind of events, including in other states.
But the fact that they become engaged in a musical band will make sure they don't escape to the urban areas, is that the philosophy?
Yeah. That they could stay there is an alternative. It's not, they don't, they can't stay if they don't want. They do need to stay, but if they didn't have an alternative to work in the rural areas, they certainly would move. And but they are the majority is staying there. This is a presentation from a group, and this is an example.
The 20-year-old Luisa Maria de Oliveira is set on becoming a professional trumpet player. That was nearly impossible for a woman in northeastern Brazil until just a few years ago. It's difficult even now.
Assim, as mulheres podem surgir a letra, né, são saxofone, clarinho, mas não deve não. É muito difícil a gente encontrar na região uma mulher que toca.
Welcome to Sao Tome Philharmonic, a woman-friendly orchestra in the state of Rio Grande do Norte in Brazil's northeast. A philharmonic is a rarity in Brazil, where men traditionally dominate in the instrument-playing field. Paula, a single mother, musician, and music major, was hired in 2009 to start the orchestra by the City of South Lome's Youth Action and Citizenship Association using money from the Rural Poverty Reduction Project. Since 2005, the project, supported with World Bank funds, has provided social and economic assistance to 2,100 community associations across Rio Grande do Norte state, one of Brazil's poorest. The project provided instruments, lessons, and a small cultural center to reverse to South Lome's interested youth. Young women were encouraged to participate. Half of South Lome's Philharmonic is made up of young women ranging in age from 12 to early 20s. Many of them, like 22-year-old Raquel Silva, say they hope to further their music studies at university to turn their passions into careers.
O desejo seria carregar vou prestar o vestibular esse ano. E é o que eu tô fazendo.
14-year-old Leni Pedia got free lessons in French horn from the orchestra, where she's now played for 10 months.
Importância de ter um aprendizado, onde eu posso encontrar novos amizades e todos nós somos um grupo.
South Lome residents say their community's decision to create the orchestra is benefiting not only their daughters, but their sons as well.
Em relação à filarmônica, para a minha visão, foi um dos melhores projetos que já chegou a São Paulo. E assim, isso para ele, que é o meu filho, veio beneficiar, assim, totalmente, que ele conseguiu encontrar a profissão dele, né? Que, talvez até ele participar da filarmônica, ele não tinha nenhuma visão de ia ser no futuro dele.
Through the orchestra, say South Lome parents, their children, boys and girls alike, are discovering talent no one ever knew they had.
Here is another presentation, but I am not showing it because I think that I don't have time. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions, yes?
Oh no, sorry, because you did. No, it's based on even the material you give us. One curious thing I realized, which for me, I don't know whether it's based on experiences from other places. And I used to remember for the production in terms of access to electricity. The challenge was that in 1989, when we started a program which we called the National Rural Electrification Scheme, we define access generally as just assuming that this is a community of about 500 people. As long as we're able to bring the national grid to this place, it means that it is assumed that this community has access. The 500 people in this community have access. And for the 10 years of that program, we realized that even though on paper we had indicated clearly that in terms of access was improving, actually families were not getting, because the power comes to the community, but the people don't even have the money to now extend the power from where it is to their homes. So still they didn't have access to that. So for the first 10 years, that's what happened. And by the way, you know, in Africa, I think apart from South Africa, we are the second best in terms of access to electricity. Ghana. And so we had to redefine what access really meant. And for us, we said that access meant that the power is in your home, the household. So that was what improved our figures in terms of people having that.
Yeah.
And I realized that in Brazil, they are looking at it in terms of families, not communities.
Yeah.
In terms of family, which for me was something that was, for 10 years we had made that mistake. And we now needed to launch yet another program which we call, which had to do with intensification. That good, now we have put the power there, but people cannot get it. So we now need to make sure that the thing goes back. So we have to go back. And I think this was something that was,
We can do a cross support. We are doing in some countries in Africa and in Asia.
Excellent.
And an interesting thing of this approach is that the family is the core, is the key group, but also they have to be included in a community association, because the community association is the formal group, to receive money and to implement the project together with the beneficiaries. So it is an important approach. Another thing is the councils, because all municipalities included in the project, they have to have municipal council, not the formal municipal council, but the participatory municipal council. And 80% of the members, they have to come from the small and rural producers and beneficiaries of the project. So it's very targeted to real beneficiaries.
Sorry, was there much resistance from the World Bank in introducing this kind of idea? Because it doesn't
yes. Yes.
So how were you involved in pushing this initiative forward?
Initially, we carried out a lot of seminars, workshops, consultations with the government and with the beneficiaries, potential beneficiaries, through their formal participatory councils like the National Confederation of Family Agriculture, the Movimento de Sem Terras, with the movement without land people. They are completely contrary about this project initially, but slowly they were involved and seeing the benefits that they could achieve and accomplish with the projects, because in the end, the project benefits on the small, the poorest, the rural areas, because the government, the state government and the municipal government, usually they don't invest in the rural areas because they are far, they are not seen, so they don't complain. It has changed. Another important thing, as they had access to money, to the funds, they had to open an account in the bank, in the commercial bank, and suddenly they were respected by the by the financial sector. Oh, come to talk to us. The manager in the bank invited them to come to open their account, and it changed completely the relationship, and they empowered them because they felt that, wow, we have power.
So what were the arguments you used? Because what you're saying, the fact that a woman is saying this is the best thing that has ever happened to our community, I mean, that's a huge statement, because it's not about electricity or water, or it's actually very soft, it's a soft power change. So what arguments were used to persuade not just the government but the World Bank bureaucrats that this investment in music, which doesn't grow, which doesn't, you can't eat it, is actually so fundamental?
I mean, it's not only in music, also justice is another sector where the bank is quite reluctant to invest. And for us, we managed to convince the bank to fund both projects. Music school, the first ever music school, the National Music of Afghanistan, was revived and established through our project. They were here in the US back in February. Did a couple of shows here and there. And the justice as well, but for the justice it was different because the push came from the donors. They wanted the bank to invest in justice because this was very, very important.
I can understand that. How do you persuade a bureaucrat to invest in music?
Yeah, I am the teacher of this project, and I was questioned because the project it allows, it's quite open, because the community decides what they want, and so it's stronger than the bank. So we have to justify that. Okay, the project didn't include in its design that this kind of project, sub-project could be financed, but the community is asking for it.
No, for bureaucrats of the bank, it's a little bit tricky because you will bring in the skills development and vocational training.
Yeah.
So when that issue comes in, so it's probably their education money.
And the questioning was, in the sustainability, the bank is financing the instruments, the training, and after the project closure, what will happen with those groups? but there is an arrangement between the groups and the municipality and the municipal councils, community association, state government, and they continuously are supporting them with training, not with money anymore, because they have to achieve sustainability, and their money is coming from the presentations. They can present, perform. Yeah.
I have a quick comment, just for everyone to understand. This is the kind of project that's called community-driven development project. So these are the communities, which that's why she said like they gave 29,000 US to each association, and then the association, the community decides. That's how they manage to have the World Bank finance these kind of projects.
Yeah, so
I think that's
sorry.
first.
Just a very quick, in terms of how you make an argument for something like this, there's all kinds of literature, of course, about learning music and discipline. And if you're disciplined, they stay in school, they stay focused on this kind of activity. And so I think you have to be looking for research that may not even be directly applied to what you're doing, but are all these spin-off benefits from creating this stable commitment, something they return to again.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of literature on music and community identification.
Yeah.
So this is one of these strengthens community.
The question is how do you capture what Jackie was talking about, the soft power aspect of it? Because this is not quantifiable in pesos. You can't measure what the thing is. It's not about water, it's not about food, it's not about electricity.
But it will have outcome measures.
Yeah, I know, but it's about human dignity and sense of, the fact you said, the point you mentioned about them becoming part of the formal financial sector or the banking sector through this program means that there's a value there. And so sometimes I think maybe the bank actually, and we are surrounded here by the bank people, but there's a tendency to focus on the hard technical solution to what adaptive challenges. In this case, this is something that you can see that. Yes, but how do you measure that? What matrix would you?
Yeah, we prepared a
the happiness
baseline.
index. I don't know.
We prepared a baseline. It was based in the project indicators. But how to measure this kind of results and outcomes that are not included initially in the project design? We didn't have an indicator of happiness, but we measured through questioning families and the direct beneficiaries, how they improve their quality of life, access to assets, their incomes, and this objectively how they could materialize the results of this kind of activity. So through income, the family income increased through these investments, leadership because they could learn music, and now some of them are, as the maestrina, she is teaching to others, it creates a new opportunity to them. And it's not completely measurable, but we can measure it with some indicators that were created after the project has been financed, because it was not included initially in the design. Now we are including.
We got one last comment question.
I think from outside, the World Bank is perceived as this big structure with, definite rules that we have to follow. But depending on the team, you can have a lot of flexibility or little less. And so I think the communication team, we can get to a lot of things. Like the music project I was showing, we had an event in March. It's not about music, but it was about African youth. So what we did, the group, we invited them at the World Bank. It was part of the climate change campaign. We get the President Kim to present and to even get to rap with the rapper. He's on stage, he's dancing. I sent you the picture. But what we did was tie his speech, his last speech at the spring meeting was a campaign on what it will take to end poverty. And climate change was a recurring theme. So we tied his message about the future, what it will take. The vice president of the Africa region, who's from Senegal, but who's a jazz player. So he came and he also linked the music to the future, and then we have the Kenyan rapper. So it's just how individual in our team we try to tie our agenda, whether it's music or something else. It's just how you tie it to the, overall global mission of the World Bank.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank Fatima.